Hey there, Wolfpack fans. Welcome to Wolfpack Watch. I'm your host, Doug Wood. I am back this week. I was told not to leave Coach Bryant alone as a guest host anymore. No, I'm just kidding. He actually did a great job. Coach Bryant, thanks for joining me again.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Here to review our most recent game here in the Den, senior night against Hillgrove, and to look forward to our upcoming game on the road at Kennesaw Mountain. We suffered a 49-24 defeat here at the Den against Hillgrove in what was a close game midway through the third quarter and got a little bit out of the hand at the end. Coach Bryant, I'll leave it to you to give us your thoughts of the game as it's played out.
Well, you know, when we went back and looked at the film, well, we ran 20 more offensive plays than what they ran. We had more first downs than what they had. We were only 20 yards. There was only 20 yards difference in total offense from what they had to what we had. The difference in the game was 3 big turnovers. You know, those 3 turnovers cost our team 21 points. And against a really good football team like Hillgrove, we can't put ourselves in that situation. And that was very uncharacteristic of our offense. Our offense only turned the ball over 4 times the previous 7 games, and we turned the ball over 3 times in one game, and all 3 resulted in 21 points. You know, a pick 6, snap over the punter's head that we should have never been in that situation to begin with. And they got the ball on the 5, so that was basically a 90-yard swing on one play. And then a strip fumble return to the 5-yard line. That's 21 points that, you know, we can't put our defense in that kind of situation. And, you know, that's something we haven't been doing. And I think those 3 plays were, you know, the difference in the game.
Absolutely. Talk about that first one, because that really kind of set the tone. And not that we didn't come back and make it a game, but that first one with the snap, I think that's the first time Carson has done that since I've been watching him. And it just came at a hugely disadvantaged time at that point. They got the ball at the 4-yard line, scored the touchdown. What was the mindset of the kids and the coaching staff on the sidelines after that? I know you guys try to stay positive and everything, but that was a real swing with them being at the ball at their 5-yard line on the punt, getting the, I believe it was illegal, did we get an illegal motion or?
Illegal formation.
Illegal formation.
Yep.
So that turned the field and gave the ball to them. Talk about the mindset at that point.
Well, you know, Carson should have never been put in that situation to have to snap it again. The play before, he snapped the perfect ball to Brock, and Brock boomed a great kick down to their 8-yard line. You know, and that we had one of our receivers that was new on our punt team that was off the line of scrimmage that was supposed to be on. You know, we were trying to get more speed on the field to cover punts because they had a really good punt return team. So we put one of our defensive backs as our outside gunner. You know, he just made a mistake. He didn't check with the referee to see if he was on, and he was supposed to be on. So the referee made a call, said that we had, you know, 5 guys in the backfield, you know, instead of 4. So, you know, we had to repunt, and, you know, the rest is history. That, you know, the ball got down inside the 5-yard line when, you know, at that time there was no momentum swing either way. You know, we were both, the first 2 drives we had stalemated each other, and then that drive, you know, gave them a 7-0 lead. And, you know, our kids could have folded at that time, but they kept their heads in the game and kept fighting, and, you know, that's all we can ask of them. You know, it was just I told the guys sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and obviously last Friday night the ball didn't bounce our way.
Yeah, and then we scored the field goal to make it 7-3. They scored another touchdown to make it 14-3. And then we scored right before the half, and what I thought was going to be a 14-10 halftime score, because we put ourselves in great situation at that point. And then right before the half, we let a 75-yard touchdown run that kind of took the wind out of the sails of that touchdown that we had just scored. Put us down 21-10, but we came out second half, scored to make it 21-17. And I really thought we had the momentum. I'm sure you guys on the sidelines, the kids all thought we were going to have a good second half, and then it sort of unraveled on us. Talk a little bit about the second half.
Well, you know, we've got to make plays when they present themselves against good competition, and we know that, you know, the Hillgrove, you know, defensively was just as good as anything we played this year, and they had some weapons on offense. So, you know, we kept giving them opportunities to make plays. When if we would have just made a couple of plays here and there, then the game would have been different in the fourth quarter. Momentum swings in games. Sudden change. We talk about sudden change all the time with our guys, whether it be an interception, fumble recovery, punt, kickoff, something like that. And it just so happened that we had 2 turnovers there in the second half that resulted in 14 points. That again, it was very uncharacteristic of us. And we told them before the game, we've got to not turn the ball over on offense. We've got to be able to stop the run on defense. And we didn't do either one of those things well enough to beat a good Hillgrove team. And
they were a very talented team. I would challenge anybody who says that the score was indicative of the difference in the teams. I would challenge that. Both teams played very hard. Both teams had a lot riding on that game. Of course, senior night and all the emotion that we had here. The game just got a little bit out of hand in the fourth quarter, late third, fourth quarter, but we played them even, and we've got nothing to hang our heads about. Talk a little bit about their defense. That was one thing I was noticing from the press box, that it just seemed like their 2 ends were just in the backfield all night long. Was that something that you guys had seen on film a lot? Did we know that was coming? Did they do something different? I mean, Ross got sacked a lot more this week than he normally does. And again, better defense probably. Did we miss some blocking assignments? Did we lack execution in that regard that caused a lot of that to happen?
Well, in the first half, especially that first third down, I don't know if our line at the time was ready for the speed that they had coming off the edge. Then Coach Hines made some adjustments with the guys in the second half. I think we really only gave up 1 sack in the second half, whereas we gave up like 3 or 4 in the first half. So I thought the guys played much better in the second half, and Ross did a good job of moving around in the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield, looking to make throws instead of just run for positive yards. And that's something that again, a young offensive line is going to learn from, and we're going to get better from. There's going to be growing pains with 5 new starters on the offensive line, but these guys have gotten better week in and week out. And they just happened to play a team that was seasoned, and it was really good all the way across the front. And like you said, we ran 74 plays Friday night offensively. And I thought our offensive line, for the most part, through most part of the game, did their job of keeping guys off of Ross. And Ross did a good job when he had speed rushes around the edge, moving up in the pocket. And that's something that we'll work on again this week.
Talk a little bit about Ross, because I thought that was actually interesting what you just said. I noticed this week he seemed to move around a lot more with the purpose of throwing the ball rather than running the ball and scrambling for yards. Is that something you guys talked about before the game, and was that something he was aware of, or did he just do that instinctively Friday night? Because he was keeping his eyes downfield. I want to say 3 or 4, maybe 5 of his completions were him scrambling, hitting a receiver across the field wide open, and us getting a big play. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, in the first half, what he did, he scrambled a little bit. He tried to push himself out of the pocket and scrambled outside, and those guys were able to catch up to us and retrace their steps and make the sack. In the second half, I thought he did a great job of stepping up in the pocket. Our offensive line ran their speed rushing defensive ends around him, and he stepped up in the pocket, kept his eyes downfield, and delivered the ball on time, and which I thought was much better than what we did in the first half, where he would feel pressure, and instead of just throwing the ball away, you'd scramble outside the pocket, and he got hit a couple of times when we talked about stepping up in the pocket and trusting your offensive line, and he did that really well in the second half and stepped up in the pocket and made some good throws at timely parts of the game.
Yeah, there was one time I remember seeing me and one of the stat guys up in the box saw Ross in what looked like a sea of players. You could barely even see him, and then all of a sudden the football comes out, and that's a testament to him sitting there in the pocket and willing to take the hit if it's going to come, but delivering the ball downfield. Talk a little bit about our defense. Our defense was on the field for quite a bit, especially in the second half when the game was getting out of hand. But I will say, just like I have said most weeks, our defense seems to rise to the occasion more often than not when it comes to playing teams with maybe a little bit more talent or a lot of speed, what have you. Our defense is flying all over the field. Now, I saw a couple mistakes, and I think I saw the coaches yelling at those kids who made the mistakes. But for the most part, they played a good game. They kept us in it. They kept us close enough to maybe, as you say, keep us close to the fourth quarter and steal it at the end. Give them a little props on the way out.
Well, the win or lose, it's a team effort, and what happened Friday night was, we were not sound in all 3 phases of the game at the times that we needed to be sound. The offense has to do their job, and not turn the ball over, not put our defense in bad situations where they got their backs against the goal line, first and goal from the 5 or first and goal from the 3 2 different times, and then scoring defensive points for them didn't help us either. But our defense has done a great job. Limiting teams to limiting their big plays and making them drive the length of the field to score. The long touchdown that they had right after we cut it to 14-10, our nose guard had just come out of the game to take a breather, and they ran the ball right at where he left from. We had a young kid in there at the time, but he did everything he could do, but it was just it's a really good running back, and we gave him a seam, and he housed it. But going forward, what we need to do is shore up what we need to do offensively, defensively, and special teams. We're playing Kennesaw Mountain, and we got to keep their offense off the field just like we try to do against Hillgrove, is try to move the chains and limit the turnovers to keep our defense in good situations instead of bad situations.
So let's move on to the Kennesaw Mountain game next week. You guys are 6-2 overall, 1-2 in region. We got 2 more games left, and for what it's worth, I mean, I don't want to sit here and look in the past and look at this game. I'm looking forward to these next 2 games. I think they're winnable. Both of them on the road. This one at Kennesaw Mountain and the next one at McEachern. This one at Kennesaw Mountain, I will say that I've looked at their games. They've given up a lot of points. And with our offense, that may bode well. Who knows? It may be a different kind of game Friday night. But talk about what you guys have seen from the Kennesaw Mountain team on film this week.
Well, offensively, I mean, they're really good. They've got a good offensive line up front. Their quarterback is, kind of slippery. He moves around. He throws the ball good, short, intermediate passing. Throws the ball really good in the run-pass option game, their RPOs. And, their tailback is, just on the hoof, watching him on film is the best tailback we've seen this year. From the way they use him, and they give him the ball, and they get him the ball in the passing game. And they've got a couple of receivers. They run really good routes. They do great on the goal line, running fades on the goal line and going up and making plays. Offensively, it'll be a challenge for us defensively, as good as they are on offense. And then defensively, they base out of a 3-4, and they run some 3-3 stack, and they try to put a lot of pressure on the offense by sending blitzes from different angles and slanting the front. We're going to have to, again, we're going to have to be able to run the football and stop the run. Those are the things that their running back is like I say, from what they do with him, he's the best back that we've seen, and we've got to be able to run the ball and shorten the game and keep their offense off the field. And then we've got to win in special teams. So those 3 areas right there that we did not win in this past Friday night, we'll need to win this Friday night to have a chance to beat Kennesaw Mountain.
So line of scrimmage game, you feel like this is going to be based on what we have to do. What's the mindset of the kids after the loss this week? Are they dwelling on it? Are they moving forward? You got these guys in the right mindset to know what they've got to look forward to? I mean, we can end up 3-2 in region in a good position if we win these next 2 games, and I think that's what everybody needs to look forward to. That may not produce a home game, and so what? You're in the playoffs. Let's play on the road, and we'll win there too. Mindset of the kids this week as you've been in practice?
Well, we've talked about the shortcomings and the mistakes that we've made. We've done film sessions with them already, and marked up our film and sent it to them, shared it through Huddle so they can see their mistakes, and hopefully, these guys will respond. At practice this week, we had a good day of practice today, put some new installs in on offense and defense, changing some personnel around to give us a better chance on Friday nights from some deficiencies that we thought we had this past Friday night. So we're going to change some personnel around on offense and defense, bring some defensive guys over to offense, some offensive guys over to defense to give us more depth and to help us run the football and to help us stop the run a little bit better.
One thing that I look forward to Friday night is just, watching these players play together. You've talked about how cohesive this team has been this season, even with the young group, the underclassmen having to step up and stuff like that. I even saw after the game Friday night, yes, they were disappointed that they lost, but I got the sense from looking at them on the sidelines after the game and when they were getting the speech from you that they were ready to go take on the next challenge. Is that what you feel like this team does as a group collectively every week?
Well, I tell our guys all the time that they've got to have a short-term memory. If they make a bad play on Friday night, they've got to forget about it because they got another play coming. If you, as a team or as an individual, if you have a bad game, then you got to let it go because you got another game coming the next week. The only time that does not become reality is when you're in the playoffs. You either win or go home. So these guys know that, you know, we can't change the outcome of last Friday's game. All we can do is build on it and get better and move forward. You know, there's no use of crying over spilt milk. You know, we made mistakes. We made our adjustments, what we're going to do going forward, and then hopefully those adjustments will pay dividends for us coming up against Kennesaw Mountain.
So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Last week you gave a little trivia question to your coaches. I'm going to put you on the spot with that same question.
Good.
Tell us a little bit about Jim Bob Bryant that we don't know. Tell us some kind of story or some kind of little tidbit that the North Paulding community does not know.
All right, so I've got a good one. All right, so when first time that I met my wife, it was about 5 or 6 years ago. Chris Crow's wife, Melissa, actually worked with my wife, Mary Candace, and we were down at the beach at Atlantic Beach July 4th weekend. So Mary Candace came down to meet me that weekend, and you know, I fancy myself a surfer, so I was out surfing in a hurricane. The hurricane was just hitting, so I was trying to show off. So, you know, I got up on a wave, wiped out. First thing to hit the ground was my left hand. Dislocated my left shoulder. I popped it back in while I was out there. Found out about a month later that I actually tore my labrum, but I got back on the board, paddled back out, and caught a couple more waves because I didn't want to show that I was hurt. That was in July 4th. We started practice August 1st. I kept lifting weights. I couldn't hardly lift, so I went and saw my team doctor. He said I had a torn labrum. There's no need to fix it now because I'd be out about 2 weeks of practice. So I took a cortisone shot every 6 weeks, got through the season. As soon as the season was over, I had surgery on my shoulder. So I was, you know, tore my labrum trying to show off in front of my now wife. So that's a story that a lot of people don't know.
Wow, that is an absolutely interesting story. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yes, sir.
One final thing as we depart before we sign off for the night. I personally want to thank everybody for the kind comments that have been given to me on Facebook, the salute that was on the field on Friday night for senior night. I tried my best to hold my emotions back and didn't do such a good job Friday night announcing those seniors, and that's just because that's how much they mean to me and that's how much this Wolfpack program means to me. And for everybody, I just want to make sure that everybody understands this. For everybody who thinks that that was a sayonara for me, that is not the case. As long as Coach Bryant, the administration, the Booster Club, and the fans want me back, I will be back next year to keep announcing this team as they go forward. And that doesn't mean anything that my son is graduating and moving on. I've got 2 incoming freshmen next year, and whether they play football or not means nothing. I will continue to do this until I'm either asked to leave or I think it's time to leave. So just I want to thank everybody for all the support. I love this community, I love this program, and I can't wait to just keep going on. Hopefully, by some weird coincidence, that we get a home playoff game here in the second round. That'd be really nice. So guys, help me out. I'd love to do another game this year. So we'll look forward to the Kennesaw Mountain game this Friday night. Next week we'll recap that Kennesaw Mountain game. Looking forward to the last regular season game against McKeecher the following week, and then we'll be looking forward to the playoffs after that. Coach Bryant, thanks again for joining me.
I appreciate
it.
it.
As always, we sign off with Go Pack.
Pack. And I also want to say I'm glad that he said he's coming back next year, because I can't call the game up there and coach the game and can do the Wolfpack watch as the announcer and be the head coach. I can't do it all, so I'm glad he just said he's coming back. Thank you, Doug. We appreciate everything you do, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
I just want to win.